councilman and leader of MJP on Friend St. Martin says St. Martin people are suffering from the closure of the border. Minister of Labor elucidates about the payroll support program. But first up, Secretary General of the WICSU PSU weighs in on the counter-proposal presented to government. Those are the headlines for Friday, May the 15th, 2020. And this is SXM Daily News. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me this evening. And as usual, we have a packed newscast for you this evening, so let's get started. General Secretary of the Windward Island Civil Service Union, PSU, Mr. Reginald Bakari Arundel, has weighed in on the counter-proposal that has been presented to the government of St. Martin on Thursday, May the 14th, 2020. The union's counter-proposal presented a list of measures that will not affect the salaries and vacation allowances of civil servants. It instead focuses on other areas by which government can reduce its expenditures and save money. The General Secretary of WICSU PSU spoke to our news department.
As you correctly pointed out, the union was able to craft a number of counter-proposals with the sole objective of safeguarding the cherished salaries and vacation pay of our civil servants. So what we basically asked is nothing out of the ordinary. We are just simply admonishing the esteemed government of St. Martin to reduce all of those unnecessary expenditures. One of the prominent things that constantly came up during our meetings with our members is the immediate elimination of the bridge allowance. The bridge allowance, as you would imagine, is a benefit that ex-ministers and ex-parliamentarians enjoy for a host of 2 years, of course, in decreasing fashion. But that in itself plays a huge role in draining the coffers of the national treasury. Please be advised, if we were to add up the amount of money that the taxpayers has paid out towards the outgoing MPs and ministers, most of whom emerged from the civil service, it is in the millions. And sadly enough, the proposal, instead of committing to bold actions such as this, there is talk about they need to review and assess and study, and then they'll see. And we are saying, no, if we are in dire need of the money, these are the immediate measures that must be considered. We've also talked about freezing of credit cards. We're talking about placing civil servants, again, who are ministers and parliamentarians, back in their function by June 16th, okay? And of course, we are asking for the immediate reduction, a further reduction in the salaries of the esteemed members of parliament, and to take it a step further, even those of government-owned companies, where we know in situations where the top earners earn sometimes much more than our elected officials. So we're saying if it's really about solidarity, then let it be about solidarity. I want to remind you and your listeners that civil servants, workers, right, are in complete solidarity with the people of St. Martin. That has not changed, okay? However, we cannot ignore the fact that civil servants have been forced to part with for benefits and allowances for years. The cost of living allowance, no salary indexation. Many departments are understaffed. Many civil servants are overworked to the point of exhaustion and burnout. Okay, many of them are in the wrong salary scale, many of them in the maximum salary scale. So what does this mean? That all of the work that many of these souls are doing are not being compensated. And in the end, it constitutes free labor. This exploitation constitutes free labor that government of St. Martin has been enjoying, has been benefiting from for years. When we had all of the skeleton budgets and the shotgun budgets, we've seen projects that were outside of the governing program, that were outside common sense, that was outside the priorities of the needs of the people. We said that was being funded. And we are saying, look, civil servants, we as unions, we want to help. We are in complete solidarity. But we find it very unfortunate that the manner in which this discussion is being framed, it's a us versus them. It's a situation of if you were earning less than 4,000 or you're above 8,000, certain measures apply. And we are saying these divide and rule tactics are unacceptable. We will allow nothing to create a cleavage between working class solidarity on St. Martin. That is totally unacceptable, because what we are seeing now is that civil servants are being portrayed as selfish, as self-centered, and not understanding. Ms. Valerie, I will remind you and your listeners that right now, in many households, civil servants, because of the stability of their income, are now required to support 2 and 3 households, and some of them are abroad. We already know about the high cost of living on the island. Okay? So we are saying, the members are saying, the unions are saying, look, you need to consider all of these factors prior to any decision with regards to touching the cherished benefits, salaries, allowances of civil servants. Because there are a number of things that need to look into, and we believe consideration and focus must be pointed in that direction.
And at the continuation of the urgent plenary public session of Parliament, which was adjourned on the 24th of April 2020, it was reconvened on Thursday, May the 14th, 2020. One of the questions posed to the Minister of VSR was about the state of affairs of the payroll support program. Member of Parliament Claudius Bancamper also queried Minister of VSR Richard Panafleck about the mass illegal labor dismissals in connection with the COVID-19 pandemic. The Minister of VSR elucidated.
So we will start with MP Bancamper. How much of the working population registered at SXV are covered through this payroll support program? From the 25,000 employees registered at SXV, 8,664 working by the 736 employers can qualify. What happens to the rest of the person whose companies did not request assistance but are not being paid? If employers did not apply for financial assistance, it is assumed that they can take care of their own employees. I would like to stop here and say there are many employers outside there that I have met personally and privately and stated that they will do that themselves. That's why they did not request it. What are projected amounts to be paid out of the comparison to the projected amounts of the payroll support? The budget amount was budgeted 20 plus million, and project amount to be paid for the first month is approximately between 14 to 16 million. How many companies have asked for stimulus support? To the date, amount of companies requesting payroll support, 736. Amount of sole proprietors, vendors, buses, taxis, requesting income support, 444. Amount of persons requesting unemployment support, in this case, in connection with COVID-19, 626. That is just to give the overall picture, even though it was only asked for the payroll support. From those who did not ask, what are the projected effects considering persons have not been paid? Well, the people that are employed and weren't paid, they can, as we have said before, notify this by labor services, make a complaint, as I will be stating later, that many did, and then the situation will be addressed. Is there anything the government is especially doing for small hotels, businesses to keep them afloat? There is a trust fund program for small and medium enterprises that will roll out in the next couple of months, for which these small enterprises may possibly qualify. Why did the decree that was published today take so long to finalize? The legal base was being fine-tuned in addition to the need for the budget to be passed. This, to clarify it, is the MB, the ministeriële beschikking, was ready prior to the budget behandeling, so that the budget passed. But after the budget passed and was approved, there would have been a national degree that would have been issued. But then, instead of that, the decision was taken to make a ministeriële regeling, a ministerial regulation, a pseudo wetgeving. So that, a document that was 3 pages, as I stated before, became a document of 16 pages. Why? Because besides the part that, as Minister of VSR, that have a USSV as the one that is in charge, or is not in charge, but supervises USSV, it became a document where the agreement that would have been signed by the Minister of VSR also came into the same document. So all of that had to be fine-tuned to make sure that everything was how it's supposed to be. So that's why it takes a little longer time.
And in other news at this time, as the island continues to slowly reopen and as we try to get into the new normal, the following businesses will be reopening as of Monday, May the 18th, 2020. As the Prime Minister of St. Martin has already mentioned, there will be 4 phases, and phase 2, which starts on Monday, May 18th, includes 1, non-contact sports such as beach going, and then there's the medical and pharmaceutical services, physiotherapy clinics and mental health facilities, rehabilitation facilities. Then there's the public services fully open to public government services, utilities, and telecommunication companies such as GEBE, TALEM, and UTS. The educational institutes, if plans are intact, will be the primary schools, the library. Then there is food and beverage, pick-up only, food vendors including sale of provision. Financial services such as money transfer services, real estate firms, employment agencies, the laundromat and dry cleaners for pick-up and drop-off only. Public transportation services, bus service at 50% capacity, school bus service at 50% capacity. Then the reopening of the hardware stores, horticulture, retail of stationery, books, school and office supplies, baby and maternity stores, and sale of auto and marine parts. You are also reminded that social distancing still applies and proper hygiene is encouraged. Please wear your mask, as you will not be allowed entrance to any public facility if you do not have one and are not wearing your mask. And still to come, the Minister of Education says he is looking into alternative measures. We'll have the details of that story and much more when SXM Daily News returns.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
And in other news at this time, Minister of Education, Dr. Randall Rodolph Samuel, has met with representatives of the Windward Island Teachers Union, and according to the minister, it was a good meeting. They are looking into alternative measures where they can achieve the necessary goals. This is not an issue where the union is against government. He is asking the unions to stand in solidarity with government, which may be a difficult one. The minister was at the time speaking at the weekly Council of Ministers press briefing.
The union have also been asked. In the discussion, we have agreed that the union would look into alternative measures of which the union might think that we can still achieve, we the government or we St. Martin can achieve the necessary goals that we need to achieve together. The discussion with the union was good in the sense that I have been able to explain the union that this is not an issue where, and I'm talking about the measures taken, it's not an issue where it is the union against government. It is an issue where we are asking the union to stand solidar with the government so that we can provide for all those others who doesn't have an income. So it's a solidarity thing. It's not where the government is fighting against the union and the union is fighting against the government, but that both parties stand together and help us over this hump, which is a difficult one for St. Martin. Another issue that I brought forward with the union is the issue in regards to school repairs. I have brought to the attention of the union the many schools that have not been repaired as yet since Hurricane Irma. And I have promised the union that when it is so far, because both the Ministry of Education and the union I consider as champions for education, I have indicated to the union that if it is necessary, that I call on the union to stand together with the Ministry of Education to fight for the repairs and the rebuilding of schools in order for us to be able to give education in the proper manner. May this be necessary. I have assured the union and they have understood that I will be calling on them to stand side and side with me in order to see to it and to fight for adequate classrooms in order to be able to give proper education.
And at their weekly press briefing, President of the Windward Island Teachers Union, Claire Elshot, gives an outline of the meeting with the Minister of Education, Dr. Randall Rodolph Samuel, which also included the condition of the schools.
In the state of affairs, actually the minister was pleading to us as unions based again on the measures to be taken in solidarity. And of course, you know, you get the rhetoric, it's not the government against the unions, but we would want the unions to stand with us with these measures. At that time, the state of affairs, I already knew what my members had to say because 2 virtual meetings, as I already indicated, the Friday evening and the Sunday evening already gave me a clear mandate of no. So I communicated it to the minister. These points that I mentioned, it was me then informing the minister of what I knew, giving him the information. So we have to come back in the next meeting because he still have to go and get the information. But as it is always in my way of saying, even though there was a presentation on privatization of public education, and it was not stated as such privatization, but it was given a more modern name, I already explained to the minister, when it comes to that, if it smells like, feels like, and looks like, for me, it is privatization. Putting public education under a school board, I could not see the pros versus the cons. I had more cons than pros. And I also discussed some of them at that time until we reached to the point of the repairs of the schools. The minister divulged to us who and what, because we knew of, for example, Lionel Connor in KB was shut down by the World Bank. They walked into that school and it was shut down. It did not create a whole media publicity at that time because, how you would say, solutions were found in ways and means to, relocate students. But that is a whole challenge because you have some students behind the Methodist Church in Colby, okay? Other students have to be bused to the to the Alma Fleming Care Center in Belvedere. Others have to be bused to Retreat Estate to Ruby La Vega Primary School. And then, of course, the office of the school manager and I think 1 or 2 classes were able to remain at the compound at the Liner Corner. But it is said that the whole school needs to be crushed and rebuilt. I'm just finding out in the meeting from with the minister that would also happen at the Mary Lawrence School, which is a Catholic school, and that needs to be rebuilt. But in any case, the fact of the matter was that prior to this, we knew that some of the schools were repaired with monies or patch up with monies coming from the insurances.
Now turning to our weather forecast for May the 15th, 2020. The Atlantic high pressure system will continue to dominate the weather pattern across the region and provide gentle to moderate winds. However, an area of low-level moisture associated with a weak surface trough may generate a few brief showers during the forecast period. Slight to moderate seas will prevail through the next few days. The outlook through Sunday midday, partly cloudy with a few passing showers are possible. Now, let's turn to your 3-day forecast. And still to come, First Vice President of the Collectivité says, we are inseparable and a solution must be found rapidly. We'll have the details to that story and more when SXM Daily News returns.
Make use of WIB mobile banking with easy access and direct usage of face recognition, PIN code, or fingerprint. Download WIB mobile banking app and make your transaction from anywhere at any time. For more information, visit wib-bank.net/quick-login.
And in news from French St. Martin, the government of Dutch and French St. Martin were unable to agree moving forward on the reopening of the internal borders until further assessments are done. According to the Vice President of the Collectivité, Valerie Damaso, the economy of St. Martin have historically been built in connection with the Dutch side and vice versa. We are inseparable and a solution must be found rapidly.
The economy of St. Martin has historically been built in connection with the Dutch side and vice versa. The family, cultural, and economic interactions between the North and the South are inseparable. We as St. Martin people are attached to these because our daily life has been built like this. These interactions are based on the Treaty of 1648 and the principle dear to St. Martin residents of the free movement of goods and people. Our economy, like that of St. Martin, operates on these historic foundations which have been shaken since the COVID-19 crisis. Strict border control during this time of crisis is a sensitive issue for all of us. The collectivity is putting all the energy into making the system more flexible while remaining vigilant and allowing employees and business owners to move between the two parts of the island. Discussions are ongoing with our counterpart on the southern side and the state, to whom we have made several propositions. Borders have been restricted for health reasons. However, considering the gradual deconfinement and stabilization of our health situation overall, we must find a solution rapidly.
Meanwhile, in more news for French St. Martin, Councilman for the MJP, Louis Mussington, says that the St. Martin people are suffering from the closing of the border. Pensioners and people who have to seek medical attention cannot go over because of the blocking or closing of the border. Mr. Mussington was at the time speaking on his weekly radio program on Radio St. Martin 101.5 FM.
It's the St. Martin people who are hurting, who are suffering from the closure of the border. Every person who spoke expressed this a strong concern and demanded that the president, in his capacity as leader of the country, speak on behalf of the council and say to the other competent authorities that certain decisions must be made to lift the border. So we have a duty and a responsibility to preserve that oneness, that the cultural heritage or history that we have been enjoying as a people. What we did in closing that border, and some like to say it was control. I've heard the prefect last night on the Guadeloupe Probier program talked about control, not a closure. But I mean, when you describe what is closure, you would come to the clear understanding that yes, our borders have been closed. Is that you have people in the north who want to go to the south to collect their pension. They work all of their life on the southern side, and thanks to the southern side, yes, that have been able to own a decent living, because Margaret didn't have the means to provide it. Things were terribly bad in St. Martin, so they find on the northern side, and they find comfort or job security in the south. But they're at the stage now where they need to collect their pension on a monthly basis. They have the doctor card valid in the south, so they need to go to their doctor. They also need to go to the pharmacy to collect their medicines with their doctor card. They are being deprived of doing so.
And as we end this edition of SXM News for this evening, representatives of the Harbor Group of Companies made a courtesy visit to the police station on Thursday, May the 14th, 2020. During this visit, the management of the Harbor Group of Companies made a donation of personal protective equipment to members of the police force. This is the second donation the police have received from the Harbor Group over the last few weeks. The protective equipment will assist the police as first responders to continue to do their work in helping to control the spread of the virus. The equipment provided included surgical masks and hand sanitizers, which will be distributed among the departments in the justice chain. On behalf of the police force, COO Ms. C. Pecht thanked the Harbor Group of members of the community who have assisted and supported police officers and the entire justice team during this period. And with that, we've come to the end of this edition of SXM News for this evening. I'm Valerie Van Putten. Thank you so much for joining me. And just a reminder that this and other programs are available online. Simply log on to stmartinmediacenter.com for viewing. And on behalf of the SXM Daily News team, we thank you for watching and plan on meeting you right back here again on Monday.